Hello everyone, this is a Steven Universe theory video on how strong was/is Peridot. It would make sense if I would talk about her previous form, or version that we know her as, with her limb enhancers that she had to escape the crystal gems here and there, and then what we know of her right now, her small, actual form without her limb enhancers, so it makes sense if I would talk about both in this case, since she is, even with or without them, the same character, so might as well do that. But might as well get the one thing that Peridot will always have, even if she does have limb enhancers or doesn't. That would be her intelligence. She has displayed of being a above average intelligence of a regular Peridot because she's studied more kindergarten files or just files more than what an actual gem or just Peridot should, for that matter. Plus, I'm not sure if just like every Peridot is just like an experienced or just known engineer to build anything just out of barn slash garage parts out of a whim, but maybe that's just our Peridot, and that just shows that her intelligence is greater compared to the other Peridots there on Homeworld. But getting on to her limb enhancer parts, one of them would be her mobility. Peridot probably has the best mobility. Well, I should say she did have the best mobility so far out of any gem that we saw because of her limb enhancers. She was displaying everything from, what was that episode? Keeping it together, or Keep It Together. She was running up walls with that suit, or just the feet limb enhancers. It was incredible, and then eventually she was flying around with her fingers, and see, that's how I kind of just see of it. Peridot wasn't all that strong, or I wouldn't say, well, smart somewhat. I know I just kind of said that, oh, she's above average intelligence. She wasn't, extremely smart. It's like, oh, she was always like 9 steps ahead or anything. It was the fact that she just had the limb enhancers to get away from the crystal gems. So it wasn't the fact that she just beat them. It was the fact that they just couldn't catch her to actually beat her. Because that was always the thing. She would either just run away, fly away, and then the other thing that I'm about to talk about is, say if like Amethyst tried to whip her in, or just trying to grab her in with her whip, she would like turn on her suit or just like shock the whip, which would leave a trail to Amethyst that could shock her. So, yeah, in the same way of Amethyst like fire whip that she sometimes does. I talk about this all the freaking time, and I'm kind of getting tired of it, of always using the same gifts. But it's pretty much the same thing, but this time, instead of being fire, it would be electricity. And it doesn't just affect, like, the one part of that whip or whatever she's touching. It affects her whole suit, because she doesn't even need to touch it, as displayed in the GIF right here, as you're seeing on screen right now. But the only thing that would counter that is other electricity, which Garnet did. And then the last thing with her limb enhancers would be her energy shots, or just electric shots. I'm not sure what you would be able to call those, but I'm calling them energy shots right now. She would be able to fire those. Now, it's not like she would just, I don't know, go all machine gun and just shoot everything in sight. That thing does look like it has a bit of a charge time to it, which is why she doesn't use it, or at least did use it all that much, because we can guarantee if it had a short cooldown, technically, she would just, fire that all day long with no problem. So it does look like it does have a bit of a cooldown to it, so she doesn't get to use it all that often, only in certain situations, especially offensive ones. And now on to her state that we know her as already, that being her normal state without her limb enhancers. She's really small and, of course, can't really do all that much, but as said before, she still has her intelligence, pride, dignity, something else that went with that, as Jasper said. She still has at least one of those. But the only other thing that I could say before I get into the obvious one, and this is just kind of a nitpick for just how I see things, she probably has like the second best character immunity, or just main character immunity, besides Steven, of course, because she's clearly fallen, taken hits that are just clearly not right for any other gem not to be poofed, and she's still surviving somehow. So, of course, it's either two things. One, main character immunity, or two, the actual reason, pretty much, her visor actually protects her from, all the things that hit her in the face, like Steven's shield, gravity, rocks, and more rocks, and just cartoon antics. Protects her from all 4 or 5 of those things on a daily basis. But then, of course, recently, within the Summer of Steven event, we find out that Peridot does have a power, not similar to like the gems where they summon weapons, but it's more of the Lapis side where it's a power. Her weapon is her power, and that is moving metal objects, or just moving metallic things and all that type of stuff, so she could probably have fun with the slinky all day, for all we know of. That would probably keep her busy for a couple of days. But when it comes to her magnetic abilities, I can't really judge on how strong that makes her so far, because as you could see here, she's kind of struggling, even though her powers are new. Now, granted, yeah, they are new, so of course she will struggle, but I don't know how much she'll progress within the series. I don't know if she's actually going to practice with that ability or not. I'm not sure if she will do that or she's considering doing that. But if she does, the farthest I could see her getting with those metal powers is probably not picking up, but probably pushing something as heavy or just as big in metal as, say, like Greg's van. Not picking up, but just, pushing it slowly forward, or just pushing it in general. That's how far I think she can get. Mostly because of just her size and just the power, but for all I know, you could prove me wrong and she could go all tough on us and just metal bend everything in sight and just do anything we can think of with those metal powers. And that should be about it. And then the last thing I should say is, how strong is she, or how strong was she? With the limb enhancers, I would honestly go and say that she is just around, like, in between of the strength of, like, Amethyst and Pearl, right in between there. Some could argue that she's probably even stronger than Pearl, but I wouldn't go as far as that. I would say that she's, of course, smarter than Amethyst, and then at the same time, she's below Pearl just by a bit because of all the gadgets she has, and then Pearl is just experience. And I know what you're all thinking, oh, well, Peridot kept outsmarting her in friendship. That means Peridot's just smarter and better than Pearl. No, that's just not really the case. Not really sure how you would come to that conclusion entirely, but that was just more for plot convenience. And then, without her limb enhancers, she's, of course, pretty much the weakest crystal gem so far. She's the weakest physically and power-wise, but she's, I want to say, the smartest crystal gem, probably right after Pearl, if not a tie with intelligence of Pearl, as, of course, within the episode, Back to the Barn, where they had the robot fight, and it was just kind of all these tests to see who's better. You know what I mean. So, yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Have any questions, comments, or concerns, or suggestions for the next Steven Universe discussion video, which will be on Thursdays and Fridays, or Thursday or Fridays, depending. And then my email is in the description if you want to send me fan art or ask me questions about that. And until then, bye.